What's up, YouTube? On this episode of Minnesota Motors, we're going to be restoring my valve covers, changing out my grill, and installing new sway bar mounts. I'm going to get started and pull the valve covers off. As you can see, they're covered in grease and everything, and both of them are. This one's not as bad, but this one over here is leaking pretty good. I've got a leak back there, and then we've got a leak right here, and it's ruining my fresh paint job on the block. And this was something I was going to do when I had the engine out, and I just didn't have time, but we're doing it now. Well, those were just a nightmare to remove. The back bolts on both sides were really hard to get at, and then on the driver's side I had to remove this cruise control unit thing. I don't know what this does. My truck is missing the cruise control buttons. But there's a bolt that goes right here on the back side of the engine, and that's just impossible to get at. So look at these valve cover gaskets. That doesn't look very good. That's junk. That's junk. That's junk. The valve covers are a little bit deformed around the bolt holes too, so I'm going to try and straighten those out. But, yeah. Here's the engine, no valve covers, and it's quite a mess. You guys see how raised up this is right around the bolt hole? That's what happens when people over tighten their valve cover bolts, and basically it'll make the gasket leak. So this is really raised up right here compared to like this flat spot. And basically I'm just putting it between two blocks of wood and hitting it with a hammer to straighten it out as best I can. Okay, got those valve covers straightened out. Now it's time to take some of my favorite dollar store degreaser and clean up these valve covers a little bit. Go ahead and hose these off, and then we can put paint stripper on there. Alright, got some aircraft paint stripper here, and let's see what it does. Hopefully it'll take off those decals, because I don't really want to scrape those off. Got a damp rag here, and I'm just gonna start wiping these down. See if this does anything. Might have to do 2 rounds of this, and maybe let this sit longer. Alright, these have been sitting for about 15 minutes now. Let's see how they look after I wipe them down. Alright, I scraped this decal with a razor blade. It doesn't really want to come off. I'm kind of disappointed with this paint stripper. I thought it was supposed to be like really aggressive, and it's not working that well. So we're going to try it one more time, and if it doesn't work, I might have to sandblast these. I was just going to hand sand down some of this rust, because it's really not that bad, but we'll find out. Third time's a charm. These look pretty good now. I think I can hand sand the rest of them down. This time I used a wire brush to really scrub in all these little crevices. So yeah, I think that it turned out pretty good. Just took a lot longer than I thought it would. I sanded the rust down the best I could, taped up that little breather over there, and wiped these down with some acetone. Now it's time for some primer. Primer dried. These look pretty decent. Time for some paint. I think these turned out pretty good. You can still kind of see where the rust was because it's a little bit raised, but they definitely look a lot better than they did before, and I'm pretty happy with them. I took some more of the dollar store cleaner and put it in a water bottle, and then dumped all my bolts in here. Can't really see them that well, but I just shook it up a little bit, let it sit for a while, and they've cleaned up really nice. I've got the valve covers back on. I've started putting the bolts in. Replaced the gaskets too. These were not in good shape. I got Velcro gaskets, and these little tabs right here kind of hook on a slot in the valve cover. And these Velcro ones had a little bit of a bigger tab, and it was kind of a pain in the butt to get those on. Hardware cleaned up really nice with that degreaser. And yeah. Alright, it's a week later. I got the valve covers on the engine finally. The gasket on this one just kept leaking, and I pulled it off and messed with it a couple times, and eventually I just decided to replace it. So I bought basically the same set of gaskets, and they were shaped a little bit differently, and put the one on this side on, and now it's sealed up great. Did 50-mile cruise up to the junkyard the other day, and truck ran great, didn't leak any oil. And then the other night on Facebook, I found something pretty cool. Check this out. This is a 460 out of a 1977 jet boat, and it was free. It's got an Edelbrock Performer intake and a mild cam, and these chrome valve covers, and it had rod knock, but hey, it was free. So I'm probably going to be putting this intake on the truck in the future, and I don't know about the cam. I don't know the specs on it, so I'll have to take a look at it. But yeah, watch for that in an upcoming video. Now that I got the valve covers done, we're going to work on swapping out my grill. I've got 3 sets of grill inserts. This is probably the nicest one. These don't have any cracks or anything. Lots of little scratches though and nicks, but I'm going to tape these up and then we can paint them. Got these taped up nicely. Time for a little satin black Rust-Oleum. These turned out pretty good. I've also got this grill shell here that I picked up at a swap meet for like 60 bucks, I think. So we're gonna go ahead and install that and install those inserts. Alright, got the grill shell loose and ran into a little problem here. I guess the bumper needs to come off. I had it off the first time I removed it, so yeah, I guess I learned. I needed to take the bumper off so I could get at these right here. got the old one off, and here it is right here. And that letter and that letter are why I'm replacing it, plus some of these dents and stuff, because I don't like owning a faux. I like owning a Ford. I swapped out the new grill shell and unwrapped the grill inserts and put those on, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. This looks way better than it did before. It's kind of subtle, just what I did, but I'll put a before and after picture in right now. And I'm so happy with the way it turned out. So next, I'm gonna pull the truck back in and swap out my sway bar mounts. So here's my sway bar mount and bushing. This is another weird 03, 04 part. And if you order replacement bushings from Rock Auto, they're gonna send you this. This is for an 05 and later. And that doesn't really work. So I ordered these. These are Prothane universal mounts. Basically, when ordering, well, the Rock Auto ones or the Prothane ones, you need to measure the diameter of your sway bar and then just order the right one. This is a 28 millimeter hole, I guess. So I'm gonna cut these off and then we're gonna bolt these on. I used a screwdriver to just kind of force this off. Now I just need to clean this up a little bit, pop the bushing on, and put the bracket on here. Hold it up, mark it, and drill some holes. I got my holes drilled. Now I'm just going to use Prothane's supplied grease here, coat my bushing, and then I can bolt everything together. So just kind of squeeze some of that in there, spread it around, just so nothing squeaks. I think I'm going to put some on the outside too. I don't know. They didn't really give instructions on how to do this. And bam, installed sway bar bushings and mounts. There we go. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this episode. If you like what you saw, please give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching.